of our Let's Grow Annual Challenge. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, and today we're talking about, with respect to confidence growth and the confidence goal we set for ourselves a couple of days ago, the fourth step of the growing process, which is W, which stands for wonder or willpower. So that's our topic today, and the thing that we're looking at, our confidence growth goals and objectives, and the steps and the options we're looking at to fill the gap. And we're asking ourselves, how can we be more curious? What do we wonder about when it comes to growing, building our confidence? I've got a couple of steps that you can go through to do that. And then we're going to talk about willpower for a couple of minutes. And our action item today is to answer one or the other of these two questions. First and foremost, number one is share one thing that you wonder about with respect to your confidence growth, that you're wondering about today. What's something that pops into your head and you're like, oh, I never thought of that, or I wonder how I am experiencing that, or I wonder if everybody feels the same way I do about confidence, etc. Or share one way that you'll access your willpower today. I don't know about you, but I have to access my willpower pretty much every day, especially when it comes to caramels and double stuffed Oreos and sweet treats and things. It's like, nah, I just really don't need one. I want a little bump of energy, but I don't need it. So one way that, I guess I'm answering my own question, one way I access my own willpower is to remember what my long-term goals and objectives are. So what are some steps that you can use to cultivate wonder, to be curious and be more curious about things? Number one, adopt a learning mindset. We've talked about this. We'll talk about this again further this year in different spots along the way. But it's imperative that we always be learning, always be growing, always becoming a better version of ourselves. Secondly, we can ask open-ended questions. If we ask open-ended questions of others and ourselves, we get a much better answer than if we say, you're in a bad mood, aren't you? Well, that's a yes or no question. It's better to say, well, what's happening that's causing your mood to be off? Or say, it depends who you're talking to, how you would ask. But ask open-ended questions versus closed-ended one-word response questions of both yourself and others. If I ask myself why I feel a certain way, or why I'm experiencing a thing, or why I want something, that's an open-ended question. If I tell myself instead, using I am statements, that I am not confident in this situation, I do not feel adequate to handle this, etc., I'm going to get a much different set of self-talk than if I ask myself open-ended questions as well. We want to practice active listening, and this is one of my lifelong improvement areas. I know how to do it. I just forget to do it sometimes because there's so much going on in my head. I forget that sometimes I need to take a deep breath, pause, slow it down, and really listen and tap into the other person. And there's strategies to do with that, which we'll talk about on the month that we focus on communication, which I think is next month. Yes, I think it is. I think September is communication. And then what are some ways, and so using those things, being learning focused, being open-minded and asking open-ended questions, actively listening to ourselves and to others around us. When we listen to our self-talk, sometimes we're horrified, right? I never realized how much negative self-talk certain people that are closely related to me actually use every single day. And I will catch myself, maybe I don't say it out loud, which I do say many things out loud, but I'll catch it going on in my head, and I'm like, well, where'd that even come from? Because that's not even me thinking it. That's not really true for me. So why am I letting that record play in my head over and over and over again? So what are some strategies to strengthen our willpower so that we can do things like turn off our negative self-talk and replace it with positive messages and be our own cheerleader? Well, number one, I talked about how I make sure and I ask myself, does this align with my goals or not? If it's not moving me toward what I want, and be honest, eating caramels and double stuffed Oreos as I get older is not moving me toward what I want, right? If you eat too many of them, you end up diabetic. It just seems to be the way many, I can't remember what the percentage of the population is, but it's scary. But if I think about my long-term goals in the different areas and aspects of my life, when I'm making a decision, I'll make the decision that's right for me at the time. I won't, sometimes I'll say yes to caramels because sometimes I just need to eat one. The next thing we want to do, another way to increase our willpower, is have habits and routines that work for us. I've shared many of mine. I'll share many more as we go throughout the challenge. But for example, with affirmations, I build them into my day. So I am feeding my brain and my subconscious so I can knock down those little nagging niglets of negativity and get better outcomes because I am having a much more focused and more positive experience in my life. We want to reflect on progress we're making and make sure that we're giving ourselves credit for the progress we are making. One of my friends on social media, someone I just love and respect, was sharing that he, for a long time, and I can echo this, didn't really ever pause or even spend any time or energy enjoying the successes along the way in the journey. We beat ourselves up for the things that don't go right, but we forget that we are also responsible for the things that do go right, and we need to take credit for them. So practice regularly reviewing, how's it going? How's our progress? And that's what I love about the daily challenge. Every day we're checking in on certain things and focusing on one thing for a month, but we're still checking in on the things that we previously covered. And by the end of the year, we'll have automatic check-ins for all of the different areas and aspects of our life so that we make sure we're doing regular check-ins. And finally, practice self-compassion. Cut yourself some slack. I used to beat myself up every time I ate something that wasn't good for me. And so what should have been an enjoyable experience ended up being one that caused all kinds of negative energy and stress because I was always telling myself, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't do that. And I realized that we can should ourselves to death, but we need to stop shoulding on ourselves because it's the same as the other essing on ourselves. So, curious if you have a way, wonder if you have a way for cultivating more curiosity and interest in your life, specifically with respect to confidence. I actually do a weekly willpower challenge with myself, which is interesting and hard. And there's different things. Sometimes it'll be okay, I'm not going to be on social media so much week challenge, or it'll be, I'm going to drink 8 glasses of water a day challenge, which is now a habit, so that doesn't even count as a challenge. Or I'm going to cut out salt, or I'm not going to eat any non-organic food for a week. Whatever it might be, I like to do willpower challenges to see if I can set a goal and stick to it. And I would say I'm at about 99.95% these days. Reflect and adjust when things aren't going right, and then make sure that we are celebrating those small wins and those small things that happen, or at least capturing them. I keep an awesomeness file. I've shared that before with respect to my businesses, but with respect to my personal life, I journal and I keep track of and celebrate the highs and the lows, right? Not just the lows, or not just the lessons learned from the lows, but I do focus a lot on lessons learned. So again, share one thing you wonder about today with respect to your confidence growth, or share one way that you access willpower, which I kind of secretly want you to answer that question because I think it will help us all to learn what other people do to tap into their willpower, to make their commitment to themselves stick more. All right, that's all I've got. Any questions? You know what to do. Ask. And if you need help or guidance, Amber's story is, of course, continuing in Guide 2 of our Let's Grow Annual Challenge private Facebook group page. So you can check that out. It's free to join the group page. You just have to answer the security questions so we don't get a bunch of people in there scamming and spamming, because there's no room for that in a group like this, and especially in an annual challenge. All right, that's it. Have an awesome day, and I'll, of course, be with you tomorrow.